Jack from Sunflowers and Butterflies. How are we? A little bit grey today here on the Gold Coast, but other than that, it's perfect. So I wanted to pop in and sort of introduce the next level of support services that I offer. I don't want to take too much of your time, so I'll get stuck into it. It's called PSYCH-K, and you will see it up on the page and on my website. And basically, PSYCH-K is a process that we use to remove limiting subconscious beliefs. Now, that might not mean a great deal to some of you. So, as a bit of an example, a limiting belief, a really common one is I'm not good enough, or I'm bad with money. It can be, nobody's going to really like who I am, so we pretend to be someone else. So just these kind of really baseline level beliefs that we've created. Maybe we were, young. A lot of the time we make them as children that don't know too much better at that point. But unfortunately, they kind of shape our lives in a lot of ways, and they're the things that often keep us from actually achieving the things that we're meant to in the world. I didn't know a great deal about the subconscious mind, but a little way into my journey, when a lot of things were not working, I tried everything. I changed everything about the way I ate, everything about what I drank, the supplements I took, where I lived, where I slept, the chemicals I used. And I saw improvements, but just not enough to keep me on the bandwagon, So I ended up researching the brain. Best thing I ever did. What a beautiful place that can be. Most of the time it doesn't feel that way, but it's just the engine, guys. It's the engine to everything. So as I got into that and I started learning about neuroplasticity, which is the idea that the brain is plastic, is what they say, but it's that our brains aren't wired to a certain belief system or a pattern. We have the ability to change that, which was really exciting for me, because your brain's what's sending the messages to your body. So if I'm having ill health and I'm having symptoms, it's on some level that is coming from my brain. So I felt really powerful actually when I started researching that. And I got into that, which leads into other things. There's quantum physics, which is about, it gets cool, It's about energy and how we manifest and attract things in the world. And, I've done a lot of work in that space. And PSYCH-K was the process that I ended up settling with that gave me the most improvement in the shortest amount of time. It's also really highly recommended and endorsed by a gentleman called Bruce Lipton, and Biology of Belief was his very first book. He's a scientist, been around for a really long time. Some of you may not know him though, so he's worth a Google. And he's kind of like the father of what they call epigenetics. And epigenetics is another thing that interests me greatly, and that's the idea, it's proven now, it's science, it's not woohoo, it's not spirituality, it's proven through science that, our genes are not always our destiny. It's one of those words we all hear, it's genetic. Your heart sinks a bit and it's like, wow, it's out of my control then. Same as I feel the same around things like autoimmune. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think they're quite disempowering to believe that you don't have any control over something. And certainly for me, it was interesting because one of the conditions I had was, several were genetic. And so, for me, it was a turning point where, for whatever reason, when I was told that, rather than accepting someone else tell me that my destiny was to be sick, my brain and my body went the other way. And that was the point in time where I realized I needed to fix me, and that I couldn't keep asking other people to fix me. It needed to come from within me. So I went off on this journey, and Bruce Lipton endorses this process, PSYCH-K, as the number one system he uses to remove limiting subconscious beliefs that affect our everything, really. And that's where you get into looking at how much the subconscious mind is actually at play as opposed to our conscious mind. And they say, science again, that 95% of the time, or 95% of what we have is subconscious, and then 5% of the time we're actually conscious. So it's a huge amount when you look at it like that. Now, PSYCH-K, it's a really easy, simple process. It's an hour-long consult. We do, talking about what's happening at the moment, maybe the things that a client's struggling around. And what we try to do is head them in the direction of, okay, if that's how it is, how do you want it to be? And that can be ill health. It can be general issues with money or friends or life or where you live or your job. It's, obviously it's individual to each person. And once we can get around to looking at things from that aspect of how do you want them to be as opposed to how they're not, we're able to use different balances, they're called. And a balance, what it means is becoming whole-brained about that circumstance or that thing or that trauma or whatever it might be. And whole-brained obviously is what it sounds like. It's, your logical side, your emotional side coming together to meet in that perfect place. And so you can really move forward with things. And as I said, I just found huge amounts of relief quite quickly and huge gains in my life. Like not just someone who's not well, this can be used for people to be greater and just continue to become greater, I believe. So it's an incredible process. And then with a little bit of muscle testing, if anyone's ever had kinesiology or was familiar with that, that's how we communicate with the subconscious mind, so that we can figure out what you actually believe subconsciously, because that's another interesting thing is we have no idea what we believe subconsciously. Consciously we might think, no, I'm a good person, people like me. But what we do is we test that at a subconscious level. So we know if you actually believe it subconsciously as well as consciously. And if there's, a bit of, misalignment there, we're able to correct that and then move forward from there. It is one of those things that at the end we require, once that, we've done a few balances, there's an action step normally involved, which is purely just the person making, and it only has to be small, one step or something tangible you can do that is like proof back to your conscious mind, the guy that's always trying to tell us we can't and you won't and too hard, is doing something that convinces him. Once we've overridden it at a subconscious level, it's in there, it's waiting. It's just a matter of convincing him, or her, however you want to think of it. But yeah, as I said, it was incredible for me, super helpful, and it's something I'm so passionate about growing in and helping clients with, which I'm doing on a pretty much a daily basis already. I'll post up some flyers about costs and that kind of thing, but generally speaking, it's $255 for an appointment. At the moment, I am going to do a special to the end of October, and that's just because I'm, new on Facebook and various things, and that's going to be for $155 for an appointment. So look, even if you just want more information about it, I have some I can email. I'm happy to share, but I would really recommend getting in touch with me if it's something that resonates on any level. I'm way over time. Word economy, not great, but it's hard when you just love and believe in things so much. So thanks for listening, and get in touch with me if you're interested. That was PSYCH-K. Thanks, guys. Bye.